Since the dawn of life on this planet, its inhabitants have looked to the twinkling lights in the sky. Some use it as guidance, some as inspiration, and some as a source of endless wonder. We humans have looked to the night sky and thought about what could be out there. From gods to distant worlds to endless voids of nothing, we have stretched out our arms in hopes of grasping the abyss above our heads. Today I want to talk about not just a servant, but the manifestation of humanity's dreams to boldly go where no one has before. Today we are going to talk about the time that we shot an arrow at the abyss and the little boy who it became. Today we talk about everyone's favorite son, Voyager. Let's start from the beginning. Voyager 1 is, historically speaking, mankind's attempt to explore and gather information from our solar system to better understand it. On top of this, at the time, America and Russia were locking horns over what we know as the space race. This series of events were heightened by Cold War tensions between the two powers as each flexed its scientific muscles to show how far their reach had gotten. America certainly claimed the largest victory in this race by being the first country to put men on the moon in 1969. This action was something of a symbolic end to the space race, though it certainly did not lead to either country slowing down their astronautical production. One of America's programs for this at the time was something called the Mariner program. Beginning in 1962, the Mariner program was America's attempts to create ships with the purpose of performing planetary flybys. A flyby is exactly what it sounds like, getting close to an extraterrestrial body and flying by it, all while collecting information such as elemental signatures, radiation, photographs, etc. The Mariner program itself consisted of 10 different Mariner probes, which I will briefly list the achievements of here. Mariner 1 had issues launching and was destroyed. Mariner 2 performed the first successful flyby of Venus. Mariner 3 failed to launch due to an issue detaching. Mariner 4 performed the first successful flyby of Mars. Mariner 5 performed a flyby of Venus to gauge its magnetic field. Mariner 6 and 7 both performed a joint flyby of Mars. Mariner 8 was lost due to vehicle malfunctions. Mariner 9 was designed as an orbiter, becoming the first craft to orbit Mars. And finally, Mariner 10 performed the first flyby of Mercury in the year 1975. That brings us to Mariner 11, or rather what was originally Mariner 11. Mariners 11 and 12 would deviate in their mission from the other Mariner shuttles as the idea of exploring every major solar system body, save for the Sun, was proposed. The issue with this lofty ambition is that at the time, the funding for the program was being shifted to a different program, the Space Shuttle program. So with a bit more of a modest ambition, they made two identical space probes, Mariner 11 and its sister ship, Mariner 12. How I'm about to describe this is how a history teacher describes scientific events, so if you are a sciencey person, bear with me. In order to perform the flyby to multiple planets and moons, the scientists were able to calculate a way to functionally boomerang the probes off of these celestial bodies' gravitational fields, propelling them to their next location. Ideally, these would send the probes to Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, with the hopes of also collecting information on the moons of Jupiter as well, such as Io and Europa. At the time when this decision was made, Mariners 11 and 12 were moved to an alternative program called Mariner Jupiter Saturn Uranus, or MJSU. The program would change the name to the Voyager program fairly close to launch after a competition was held to choose a brand new name. The winning name was inspired by an earlier suggestion to call it Navigator, but Voyager would be the name that we all know it by today. However, given how late into the production of the probes these new names were applied, many of the teams still simply refer to them as the Mariners. Their mission was dubbed the Grand Tour, and each probe would go on a slightly different trajectory. Voyager 1 was tasked with getting information from Jupiter, Saturn, and the moon Titan, while Voyager 2 would go to Neptune and Uranus as well. After each finished their initial missions, they would relay the information back to NASA and then continue to drift into interstellar space. This information could be relayed back thanks to the use of radio waves and was designed to be able to send information from as far as outside of the solar system. We were able to pick these up because of the Deep Space Network stations, which you may recognize from B-roll of any UFO show. The Voyager probes as well were each fitted with something of a gift from humanity to any would-be discoverers. Scientifically speaking, it is more than likely that life does exist beyond Earth, somewhere in the universe. I'm not going to go into whether they have visited us or are little green men or anything like that. Simply speaking, from a statistical angle, life very likely exists beyond our world. Scientists, holding much the same thought, or at the very least wanting to believe, created the golden discs. These are gold-plated records that contain sounds of life on Earth, some of our music, greetings in 55 languages, images of plants, animals, humans, and our civilization, brainwaves compressed into audio, and instructions on how to extract this information. written in a universal mathematical language that any advanced enough civilization should theoretically be able to recognize. It should be noted that neither of these probes is necessarily heading towards a particular star that could host life, but rather that we, as a species, are extending a hand out to the universe and, in the off chance it is discovered, be remembered. Unless intercepted by something, the Voyager 1 probe has a 40,000-year journey before possibly being discovered, and by that point, we, as a species, will have changed in some form or another. As described by famed scientist Carl Sagan, who worked on the project, the spacecraft will be encountered in the record played only if there are advanced spacefaring civilizations in interstellar space, but the launching of this bottle into the cosmic ocean says something very hopeful about life on this planet. And with that, we get to the launch of the Voyager probes. Voyager 2 was actually the first to launch on the 20th of August, 1977. Voyager 2 was launched with the intent of taking a longer, more circular trajectory than its sister ship, and as a result, ultimately slower than Voyager 1. 2 weeks later, Voyager 1 was launched on the 5th of September, 1977. This launch had the probe attached to a Titan 3E Centaur that would propel the probe out of the atmosphere. This initial launch nearly failed as a system malfunction cut off fuel in the Titan's second stage early, which would have made it impossible for the Voyager to clear the atmosphere. This was successfully fixed thanks to an override in the system to burn the fuel longer, allowing the probe to break the atmosphere with little over 3 seconds of fuel remaining. Thus the journey of the Voyager began. We received our first photographs of Jupiter from Voyager in January of 1979, showing us revolutionary footage of the Jovian system. This included photos of Jupiter's Great Red Spot, volcanic activity on its moon Io, the radiation belt of Jupiter, and the fact that it had rings. The volcanic activity on Io was especially important because it was the first recorded instance of volcanism on a body other than Earth. Voyager would leave the Jovian system in April of that same year and make its way to Saturn, getting there in November of 1980. Voyager 1 started out with the moon Titan, which has interested scientists for years due to it having a complex atmosphere and the possibility that it could sustain life. They measured aspects such as the moon's density, compositional structure, and detected the possibility of liquid hydrocarbon, though visuals were unable to be gathered due to the moon being covered in a thick haze. In the Saturnian system, Voyager photographed the planet up close as well as its moon Titan. It discovered complex structures within the rings of the planet. It was able to analyze aspects of the planet's elemental structures as well, detecting 7% helium on the planet's upper atmosphere. For reference, Earth has 11%. The rest of the elemental structure was hydrogen. Additionally, winds were recorded near the equator that were over 1,100 miles per hour. Additionally, it recorded that a Saturnian day was 10 hours, 39 minutes, and 24 seconds. This technically concluded the mission of Voyager 1, a great success in deepening our understanding of the universe. But the journey of this craft was not over, and thus there was an additional prerogative given to Voyager. As it was impossible to retrieve the craft, it would be tasked with collecting information for as long as it could, floating through space. Its last photographs, taken in 1990, were called the Family Portrait, a series of photos of all the interstellar system's celestial bodies, including Earth and what would famously become known as the pale blue dot. In this photo, the Earth is less than a pixel in size, and the image has been used to muse on our place in the vast ocean of the universe. Shortly after these were taken, Voyager's cameras were disabled to conserve energy, and as of writing this, it is too complex of a situation to ever enable them again. On the 17th of February 1998, it surpassed a different probe, Pioneer 10, becoming the furthest man-made object from Earth. From here, it began its journey into interstellar space, all the while reading information from around itself and sending it back to NASA. One of these readings was attempting to determine at what point the solar winds functionally dissipate into the rest of space, a sequence known as heliopause. This was estimated to have first been recorded by Voyager on the 15th of December 2004 at a distance of approximately 8,700 million miles away. In 2010, it met a place in the universe where solar winds and interstellar winds collided and was ordered to take a sideways rotation to keep itself going. In 2012, Voyager was detected to have entered a new layer of heliopause, and in August was determined to be the first man-made object to have sailed through the heliopause. Then, a year later, in the September of 2013, NASA officially announced that Voyager had become the first spacecraft to enter the interstellar medium. For the record, according to fate, it was at this point that Voyager was added to the Throne of Heroes, becoming a symbol of humanity's drive and ambition. In 2022, Voyager would begin exhibiting odd behavior, sending back gibberish. This was determined to be caused by it attempting to communicate with a PC that no longer was functioning, causing corruption to Voyager's memory. This was eventually fixed thanks to partitioning, but began to show the age of the Voyager probe. As of right now, it is estimated that Voyager will remain operational until 2036, though many other aspects may lead to it shutting down sooner. This little boy lost will continue his voyage regardless and gently drift through space eternal. Our little message in a bottle. Now, that is just one aspect of the character that we know as Voyager. The other comes from the internationally acclaimed story called The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. The tale itself has a framing device of a man who is visited by the titular Little Prince. The Little Prince lived on an asteroid where he was in love with a rose, but resolved to explore the universe. He visited 6 different planets, all the while musing on the ways in which adults make themselves out to feel important and the various problems that we all experience with life. On Earth, he encounters equally strange people and things until he finds the narrator. The story culminates to the prince wishing to return to his planet to see his flower, and the way to do it is to functionally die, being bitten by a snake to ascend. In the end, the narrator manages to repair his plane and set off for home, hoping to find others who were contacted by the prince. Voyager's design and fate is heavily based on this depiction, a young blonde boy in ambiguously royal yet alien attire. However, his personality is something of a fusion of 3 aspects: that of the prince, that of the probe and its journey, and that of a young boy still learning about the world. This is because Voyager is technically the newest heroic spirit and as a result still has much to learn. To us, as both humans and fans of Fate, he is like a son. Our son who we sent out to find his way in the world, who has been writing back to us for almost 50 years of his adventures in the great beyond. But with that, we have Voyager in the books. Thank you all so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. I feel like this is maybe one of the hardest characters to do this for because technically his history is still being written. Anyway, if you liked the video, let me know down in the comments, check the links for all my socials, do all the YouTube things, but for now, keep your chin up and your eyes in the sky. Peace.